We have some more fallout from the pardoning of Hunter Biden here. Here's we're not going to play this whole thing. This was 9 minutes. We're going to play the first couple minutes of this media supercut of various anchors and pundits bragging about how, unlike Donald Trump, Joe Biden is a believer in the rule of law and therefore will not, he could not, he would not, and he will not pardon his son Hunter.
Presidential promise to put the law before family.
I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers.
Was asked directly, and he has said he wouldn't pardon his son if he gets convicted.
Let's wait and see what happens if he loses.
Yeah, but I mean, but he said it.
He's going to get pardoned by his dad. There's no question about that.
The president has ruled out pardoning his son.
Major commitment from the president, accepting the outcome of the trial and also pledging not to pardon his son.
So the challenge for him is really to continue to live up to his values when it was really personal, and he did that today.
It seems like a pretty normal, straightforward answer, but it takes new weight when we see what Trump is saying about the outcome of his trial, what we're hearing from other Republicans who say they don't accept the jury's verdict here in New York.
The contrast is profound. To sit there and say, well, I'm not going to intervene in the legal process, and I wouldn't pardon my son. One side, Democrats and Joe Biden protecting the justice system. And on the other, Republicans and Trump protecting Trump.
Our current president of the United States
so excited
has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son. I mean, again, it's all about the contrast.
President Biden saying, I will respect whatever this jury decides versus Donald Trump after he was convicted on 34 counts, saying the entire system is rigged against him.
Their latest attack has been that Joe Biden has politicized and weaponized the DOJ, right? That was the whole argument around Donald Trump's conviction. And this week, of course, Hunter Biden was found guilty, and Joe Biden has very clearly said he would not pardon his son, he would not commute his sentence. How stark is this difference? I mean, how can Republicans keep making this argument now that Joe Biden has really put it out there? Where's Hunter?
There you go. There you go. So
that's their job. That's their job. Go on there and just, really emote about the sanctity of our democracy and good guys over here and bad guys over there, and the Democrats are always good and the Republicans are always bad. That's it. It has almost no DNA left in common with actual news reporting.
Yeah,
this is state TV in every sense of the word.
So shout out to news.grabian.com. He put the watermark on that montage there. That was good work and quick work. But now, of course, singing a little bit of a different tune. So we're going to start out with the Never Trump Republican response to this. Joe Walsh, very, very upset, very hurt by this last-minute pardoning of the president's son.
What do you make of all of this? What is likely to be the response on Capitol Hill to this breaking news?
Good to be with you. See, I told you so. They're all like that. So the next time any of us complain about anything Trump does, this pardon is just deflating. For those of us who have been out there for a few years now yelling about what a unique threat Donald Trump is, for Joe Biden to do something like this, Trump, nobody's above the law, we've been screaming. Well, Joe Biden just made clear his son Hunter is above the law. Donald Trump lies every time he opens his mouth, we've been screaming. Joe Biden repeatedly lied about this. The politicization of the justice system, Donald Trump and his people have been screaming.
All right. Up next, the Pod Save guys. The Pod guys. So we heard from a Never Trump Republican. Now we'll hear from the go-to lib podcast, the command center itself, Pod Save America. Here's their take.
What's strange about this is, A, it comes now. B, there's no acknowledgement in the statement that part of the rationale should be that Donald Trump is about to become president, right? The statement is very kind of like imperious.
Or sympathy inducing.
He's been sober for a long time. There's a lot of people on whom like the gears of justice have like turned while they were trying desperately to maintain their sobriety, and no pardons for them.
Can I just point out too, on that point, when Joe Biden decided to run in 2019, Hunter had already gone through a lot of these challenges. And so the time you could make a decision that would protect Hunter Biden from the kind of political glare and from Republican attacks was then.
I think that Joe Biden is a tragic figure. He has shown incredible decency at times, and I really feel for what he's gone through and what his family has gone through. They've gone through hell. Like, none of us can imagine what they've gone through. But, like, his ego, again and again, has, like, gotten in the way. And when push comes to shove, it's like, well, I'm going to do what's good for, I'm going to run for president again, even though it's fucking crazy to do that. And like, I shouldn't do it and blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to do it, you know? And now we're all here. And like, this to me is like in that category.
All right. And
yeah,
finally,
no, totally. It's just his ego. He is not a monster that collaborated with segregationists to lock up 2 generations of the black and brown people that white libs like you claim to care about so much. He's not somebody who sexually assaulted Tara Reid with the Time's Up people jumping up to defend him on command, and having a lot to do with the fact that people don't take Me Too seriously anymore in the process, really undermining credibility for a lot of women who needed that support. No, it's not that. It's his ego. It's his ego. It's understandable. It's tragic, actually.
Well, here's Chuck Todd now taking it a step further, saying Biden should have probably never run for president at all. That's his implication there. So Chris Cillizza tweets out, I talk to Chuck Todd every Monday for my newsletter. Wow, that's an exciting show you got there. Every week you talk to Chuck Todd. It's always a good conversation, but I thought he nailed it today on why the Hunter Biden trial really mattered.
Mean, look, we have a lot of people, ourselves included, who are very skeptical of, a lot of kind of DEI formulations. If this is not an example of a mediocre white man getting a position that only a mediocre white man could possibly have, I don't know what is. What fucking qualifications does Chuck Todd have to comment on anything?
Well,
Could anyone this mediocre who is not a white man get this job?
Yeah, well, he's a regular on the Chris Cillizza Substack newsletter show here. But here's he nailed it on why the Hunter Biden trial really mattered when thinking about the Biden presidency and the pardon. Watch the whole thing at the link in the bio. Well, thanks, but no thanks, Chris. We'll be happy with just this sample here. But here's Chuck Todd taking it a step further than the PodSafe guys.
I follow the Hunter Biden trial very closely.
Mm-hmm.
I read every transcript, all the testimony, because that's what all that was made public. And there is, you want to get angry, just as somebody in just all these mixed emotions. You read the Hallie Biden transcript, and that's Bo's widow.
Yes.
And essentially he turned her into a crack addict. And this was all happening in 2017, 2018. And Joe Biden were so concerned about their family that they decided to run for president.
Yep.
When you talk about the word selfish, it's almost like the word doesn't, their decision to run for president put the entire Democratic Party and the United States of America in the position that it's in now.
Wow.
All right. So
strong words from Chuck Todd there. That is pretty strong words.
That's very strong words. He doesn't mean a fucking thing that he says. Clearly, they have been told it's open season on Joe Biden. You can say what you want, and you know what? That motherfucker fucked us. Go for it.
Well,
and
they will.
If they had gotten the call, you need to spin this the other way. That's what they would be doing. They're performers. They're a circus act.
This is what they thought the whole time. This is clearly what they thought the whole time. This was the obvious truth the whole time. So he does mean what he says. What do you mean he doesn't mean it? He means it.
Well, I mean,
of course he means it. This is what they've meant. This is what they've thought of Joe Biden since 2019. That's why they ran 25 guys against him, hoping one of them could beat Bernie and not him. They've thought they've thought this about Biden forever. Forever.
Yes.
That's why he didn't run in 2016.
To put it another way, that's not why they're telling you that. They're telling you that because they were given permission to tell you that.
Well, of course. But this is obviously what they mean. It's obviously what they mean.
Yeah.
What we're seeing here, folks, as we'll see, I'm going to run through these exhibits first here. Congressman Greg Landsman, as a father, I get it. But as someone who wants people to believe in public service again, it's a setback. So here's a Democratic congressman, and he doesn't quite get ratioed for this, which tells you the tide has turned. But he got some pushback. With the amount of unethical shit in the incoming administration is about to do, I really don't want to hear any sideways opinions about what Biden did. It's crazy that one party is forced to adhere to standards and norms, while the other party is allowed to routinely trample them. That ship sailed years ago. Get on board. Anthony Richards, sit your coward ass down somewhere and shut the fuck up, clown. That's what's wrong with you Dems. You're fucking cowards. Disagree. You want to play nice, while MAGA plays dirty and is always on the offensive, while Dems are playing defensive. If we want to win elections going forward, being Mr. Rogers is a losing strategy. Okay, so what this Hunter Biden pardon is the nail in the coffin of resistance liberalism. The death of resistance liberalism was Trump winning last month. This was the nail in the coffin, because now you're seeing rank and file liberals and Democrats going the only place they can go, which I don't really blame them for going here, which is, hey, those norms and those guardrails, which we cared so much about, those are all bullshit. And we've been saying for years on like a more populist left lane that those are all bullshit and have been bullshit for a very long time. Don't forget the Bill Clinton pardon of Mark Rich. I mean, this guy was basically a traitor. This guy was negotiating with the Iranians during the hostage thing. So, like, yes, it's always been a giant swamp. Hey, to borrow a word from our once and future king, right? And so now the liberals are just forced to accept that. They're forced to agree with that, because if they can't go there, then they gotta just totally abandon every political leader they've ever admired. So the only place left to go is a place that makes perfect sense, like honestly, which is, hey, it's a dirty game. So let's not clutch our pearls every time a norm is violated. Let's understand, norms are violated all the time. The country is a crock of bullshit. That's all it's ever been. And they're finally forced to reckon with that. And so this is it. The resistance ends right now.
Is that really where they're going? They're trying to put it on Biden. They're not making a systemic argument. They're making a Biden argument.
What they're saying is all bets are off now. All bets are off because Trump won. We have a president now who abuses the rule of law, who doesn't care about the rule of law. So why should we care, right? Why should we care? They're giving up. This is why Joe Walsh was so upset. We've been saying forever, and the media's been saying forever, that we're the ones who care about these things, and God damn it, Trump doesn't, and we have to save the system from Trump. Now that Trump won, they're like, I guess the country doesn't care about these things, so you know what? Maybe we shouldn't either. Maybe it's not that important. Maybe politics is about power. Maybe it's about winning and wielding power. And that's what Trump has done, and now they figured out, a few weeks too late, too bad, tear down the side of my cheek, that they have to play that game as well. And I mean, the whole underpinning of everything they've been saying for the last 8 years, like I said, it was destroyed on November 5th. This just puts the nail in it. There's no coming back from it.
I mean, that's true.
Forever.
I think they're doing something that is pretty predictable, and it's not out of line with other things they've done in the past. They're throwing Biden under the bus. They're trying to distance themselves from Biden. That doesn't require any kind of a drastic change in narrative. However, because Trump won now, and because of the position Biden put them in, They would love to keep screaming about rules and norms. They just can't. That's what they're bitching about. They're not going to be able to because Biden fucked them in the ass.
Done.
And now they just don't even know what they're going to talk about. Look, a lot of this
That's
is
what I mean. It's over. It's over.
Look,
that whole line of argument is over.
True. Yeah, I'm not a fan of his, but every now and then he does make a pretty insightful observation. Konstantin Kassin just dropped a video about how, yes, the access media, the corporate media, yes, their clear biases have definitely hurt their business and made a lot of people walk away, but that's really not the core thing that's going on here. And he explained, I think very well, that look, it used to be that you had these media companies that curated the news for you and selected certain people with certain opinions or certain reporters, and you went to these trusted sources for that news. But in a world with the technology where every person can have a blog and every person can have a de facto TV station in their house, like us, right? There's no need for that kind of curation, and we're moving toward a world where you don't just call a cab, you call for a big car, a small car, this kind of driver, that kind of driver. What's happening in the media is a natural extension of that, where people are not going to accept that kind of curation anymore. They're just going to go where they want to go. They have been fighting that for years by trying to say, YouTube is radicalizing people. Remember, there was that whole New York Times expose the libs were all sharing around. And that's what it's all been about, because they've seen, they have been the Neanderthals looking at the Cro-Magnons coming over the horizon and desperately trying to stop the horde from killing them. And now we're here. Like, this was the election where it really tipped. So yeah, you have this whole ideological thing, but it's really what's going on behind the scenes is people who had an enormous amount of cultural power, an enormous amount of cultural cachet, who are seeing it all fall apart and have no idea what they're going to do with themselves without that power. And hey, with that power came a lot of money. Who's going to keep paying these people for this kind of bullshit? Who wants it? Who's going to want that?
Well, I mean, I think now on a bigger level too, the argument completely shifts. They can no longer prosecute the kind of case against Trump that they wanted to. And by they, I mean the Karen Finneys and the Chuck Todds and the Chris Cillizas and the Joe Walshes and even the PodSave guys. The PodSave guys are a little wonkier, but now they're going to have to become more wonkier, because now what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to resist Donald Trump the way you should have resisted him from day one, which is on a policy level. You attack his policies if his policies are bad for people, and you counter that with forming policies that are good for people. That's what politics is. Crying about how he is too disruptive to the tone and tenor of Washington, D.C. is doomed to fail from day one, and now it has. And now on the way out the door at the last minute, Biden makes that case inarguable. It was always a bad argument, but it was an argument. It was arguable. Now it's inarguable, which means this is it. The resistance, it's done.
It's an
over.
ethos.
It's over. Right, exactly. At least it's an ethos. Now it's not even an ethos. It's over. They cannot do this anymore. And this is the silver lining heading into what I think are going to be a very, very tumultuous and traumatic 4 years for a lot of people in this country, legitimately. We're not just talking about libs getting triggered. You're talking about a policy set that could potentially be extremely disruptive in negative ways for a lot of people. Mass deportations, gutting of the social safety net, agitating for World War III with Iran on the Israel front. Even if you believe what he says he's going to do in Ukraine, which doesn't look like he's too serious about ending the war in Ukraine, Israel, that's an inroad into World War III as well. And that seems to be cooking awful hot under Donald Trump's White House. And so that's where you have to go. You cannot just continue to clutch your pearls about how he is undermining faith in institutions and norms. That all ends. And there is no chance that could be resuscitated now. I think it is dead and buried, which is a good thing. So on that score, I'm happy he did it.
When you fuck a stranger in the ass.
Exactly. On that score, I'm also happy that he did it. I think it's a good development overall that he did this, because now
took away their
libs
last fig leaf.
took away their last fig leaf. Now they're completely out of our way. And we got into this. We started getting into this in our Michael Tracy interview. We didn't get into it as much as I wanted to. But he mentioned how the resistance libs have become this irrelevant faction and how that's a good thing. And it is a good thing. And I agree it's a good thing. Part of why I agree it's a good thing is because now we get to actually go at the right the way we've always wanted to. Like the libs always complain, what nasty, mean Bernie bros, you're so vicious. We're like, hey, we're offering you our services for free. All this, all this ire, all this venom that we spew at you, we're willing to spew it at the actual right, at the self-proclaimed right. I think of the liberals as right wing, but we're willing to take this fight to them. But you got to give us the ball. They just wouldn't give us the ball. And what created a lot of really bad blood was the realization that they'd rather lose to the right than give us the ball. Now we've got the ball because they have nothing anymore. They're out of the game. Right. That's it. They've got the hook.
The liberals have completely destroyed every ounce of institutional power that anything resembling a left wing had. They are like a plague of locusts that has just completely destroyed left politics by seizing it for themselves. And yes, their collapse opens up space to construct a real left. You couldn't construct a real left without that collapse.
Exactly.
So on that level, celebrate.
Exactly. Yep. Could not have said that better myself.
Please clap.